California campus at Berkeley, there was beginning a phase of this youth revolt that was to be heard around the world. It became, in its simplest form, a fight about freedom of speech. But as almost everyone knows, it was much more than that. The university sought to impose upon the students a series of regulations on political activity and the solicitation of funds that the students felt to be in violation of their constitutional rights. On September 30th, 1964, 300 students staged a 12-hour sit-in at Sproul Hall on the Berkeley campus. That was the beginning of the free speech movement.
Sorry for the misguide there. That's not the Berkeley riot that we're going to talk about. That one was actually a peaceful protest, and I find it absolutely hilarious because just about 70 years ago, 70, I can't do math, 50 years ago, we had a protest going on at UC Berkeley for almost the exact same reason, but this time it's been superimposed on itself and reversed. And this is what we're getting now.
Violent riots last night at the University of California at Berkeley. You watched them break out live. Evidence of that was on full display last night at Berkeley, where Milo was scheduled to speak, but was evacuated shortly before the speech for his own safety. Watch what happened.
So we go from a staged sit-in, which is an absolutely perfect protest, even like Occupy Wall Street a few years back, if you remember that one. It was a staged sit-in. Now even Occupy Wall Street got a little bit uppity, but nothing on the level of this. I mean, we even had people being attacked.
I don't know. It's just protesters here right now. Who knows? Who knows? I think it's still up in the air.
What did you want to hear?
I'm not exactly certain what you mean by that necessarily.
What did you want to hear when you attend that speech? What did you want to hear?
I do that anyway.
I'm looking to just make a statement by being here, and I think the protesters are doing the same. And props to them for the ones who are doing it non-violently, but I think that's a very rare thing indeed. So.
Are you surprised?
There's this and other footage of people being attacked. There was a girl that was hit with a sign. There was a guy completely knocked out in the street. There's other video footage. There's one guy, I guess he had a friend who was a cameraman in the crew that was just there. They were trying to capture what was going on, and he's bleeding all over his face. I mean, this is pure violence now. It's not protest anymore. It's riots, and it's been that way for quite a while, and that's why I hate that these mainstream news sources, especially like CNN, are labeling these as still as protests. They're not protests anymore. They're just inciting outright violence against these people, and I love that the group is calling itself Antifa, anti-fascist, because they're actually the ones that are being the fascists right now. They are inciting violence against people who have opposing viewpoints. Yes, fascism has its roots in the far, far right. If you look up the definition of the term fascism, it states that it started in the far right. But it also ties in with authoritarianism and totalitarianism. And it doesn't matter what party you are. If that's the way you're acting, if you are inciting violence against people for having an opposing viewpoint, You're the fascist. That's the problem here, is there's so much of this going on, and it's just being accepted because they're labeling everybody as Nazis and white supremacists. And like that one in particular, I love when they try to call Milo a white supremacist and or a Nazi, because the dude is a gay Jewish immigrant. He's the furthest thing from a white supremacist or a Nazi that there ever was. But yeah, it's being heralded as they're fighting the fascists and blah blah blah. And again, I don't agree with Trump on everything at all. I did not vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary either. I'm not going to get into that in this video because that's not the point of this video. But you got to be willing to converse and sit down and talk. The violence isn't going to do anything except to drive people away and divide us even more. And then on top of that, this next little segment, I'll play it. One of the Berkeley professors, who I guess is also a regular guest for CNN, he's one of their regular people that's on the show, tried to call this a false flag event and blamed Milo and his people, his team, and said they went out and hired these people, basically, and brought them in to incite this violence to increase his standing, if you will.
I've been wanting to have this conversation because this has been a big issue about free speech on campus and conservative voices being heard. But Mr. Reich, my first question to you is, there's a violence that we saw, this violence we saw at Berkeley, we had it live here on CNN last night. It ultimately it plays right into the hands of a right-wing white supremacist, someone like Milo Yiannopoulos.
It absolutely does, Don, and I'd want to be very, very clear. I was there for part of last night, and I know what I saw, and those people were not Berkeley students. Those were outsiders, agitators. I've never seen them before. There's rumors that they actually were right-wingers. They were part of a kind of a group that were organized and ready to create the kind of tumult and danger you saw that forced the police to cancel the event. So Donald Trump, when he says Berkeley, doesn't respect free speech rights, that's a complete distortion of the truth. I mean, Berkeley opened its biggest auditorium to this right-wing Breitbart News character, this hateful, odious person, but said free speech is the most important thing we stand for. And these outsiders who caused the police to finally come in and have to cancel it.
Do you think this was a strategy by Yiannopoulos or right-wingers? They put this on so they could, in an effort to show that, there's no free speech on a college campus like UC Berkeley?
I wouldn't bet against it, Don. I saw these people. They were they all looked almost paramilitary. They were not from the campus. I've heard, again, I don't want to say factually, but I've heard that there was some relationship there between these people and the right wing, and the right wing movement that is affiliated with Breitbart News.
It is interesting because there have been protests, but nothing this violent. We haven't seen anything to this level.
And here we go again with the rumors and the I heard this and reliable sources. It's a bunch of crap. This dude, I've heard that these people were associated with the right and they brought them in and they are not campus students and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, they very well might not have been students. But the fact is, they came in and incited a riot. This thing, it originally sounded like it started peacefully, like most of these things do. It actually started peacefully, but then it just degenerated into the disaster that it became. The destruction of property, the harming of individuals. It's ridiculous. And now this guy, and there's a few actors and actresses and people of high influence that are agreeing and saying, oh yeah, this is them doing it to themselves. I don't understand it. They try to play both sides of the fence so often, and they change their arguments to fit whatever happens to be their argument at the time. and they're flip-flopping and they're back and forth and they try to play both sides of the fence all the time, and you can't do that. And this isn't the first time that this has happened at a UC campus. I'm actually going to end this video with a really cool video from an Iranian immigrant at the UC Davis event that was actually canceled as well. That one got ruckusy, but not near as bad as this one. But it got pretty bad as well. And it gives me a little bit of hope, but it also makes me sad that this guy came from Iran to America in search of a better life. And he's actually, he's pro, I don't know if he's pro Milo necessarily, but he's pro free speech. He wanted to come to the event to hear, well, he didn't even know about the event at first, but I'll let him explain himself in his video.
Freedom of speech, no intimidation. We want Milo, we want our freedom of speech in here. UC Davis is ours. UC Davis.
Why are you blocking his face?
Sorry?
He's a supporter. I'm with him. Why are you blocking his face?
No street, no taking freedom of speech away. No Allah Akbar shouting type street thugs taking lectures away.
They're trying to block you. Why? Why are they trying to block you from me?
Because we came here for a lecture that they disagree with, and they took it away by thuggery and intimidation.
No space for racists. Let him speak.
I didn't know I'm a racist. I came here to watch a lecture. They took away my freedom. That's why I'm an immigrant. I emigrated where people from Islamic Iran, where people were intimidated. Your definition of hate speech is not what we share. This is hate speech. Look at hate speech. It's your people. It's your street thugs. That's freedom of speech away. It's this guy pushing me, blocking me. Watch the difference. Let them push me. Watch it. This is their ethic. This is their little ethic. Look. Street thug beating people up. This is.
Why are you guys blocking him? Okay, thanks, guys. That's a great background. Okay, that's perfect. Oh, excuse me. Why is you're trying to break my equipment?
No.
That's a crime.
It didn't even touch your equipment.
It did.
It came nowhere close.
You're a liar.
Milo is a master of public relations. He's so intelligent in manipulating his adversaries in institutional organizations to do his bidding for him. I did not know there was an event today. I'm too busy. I'm a JD MBA student. I don't have time for this. I got an email from the Dean of UC Davis, the Chancellor, thank you. The Chancellor of UC Davis telling us that he knows that there is a lecture that the privileged class of this neighborhood disagrees with. And he told us that there might be intimidation, violence to stop the expression. Today, that was going to be a lecture. We had these kind of street thugs beat us, push us around, block the door. Because of these street thugs' intimidation and violence, the expression was taken away, and there was no lecture done. I emigrated here from the Islamic Republic of Iran, where this kind of event used to be a daily affair. People that were disagreed with were labeled, "You're a mufsadul faraz," which means disagreeing with the supreme leader. And they use this kind of street thuggery to stop the exchange of ideas and to prevent those who have merit, who have meritorious earnings to express themselves. Today, this kind of street thuggery domination took that away. I will find my lecture content on YouTube, but I invite everyone that was here to see the difference between intimidating people by street thuggery and an intellectual discourse that is based on meritorious earning. In the virtue signaling identity politics world, being a minority is a bit of a status. You have some victimization, brownie points. So when a minority speaks out, it's even more important for them to suppress that voice, because the accusations of racism, homophobia, and these kind of empowerment by accusations go away. So yes, I do think being a minority is a factor for them, but I don't think they stopped my speech and my communications and they beat me up and all that good stuff because I'm a minority. They did it because I disagree with them.
So yeah, we got this guy. He immigrated here from Iran to escape this kind of crap. And now it's happening here. And this isn't the first video that I've seen that's like this. There are a lot of videos of people who said they came over to America to escape this kind of stuff. We're supposed to be the land of the free. I mean, our First Amendment is free speech. And they're trying to destroy it by labeling it as hate speech. Like he even said, this is the hate speech. And what do you label as hate speech? Anything negative could be labeled as hate speech, which means there is no free speech, because if you don't like something that somebody says, you can say, oh, it's hate speech because it's an opposing viewpoint and I don't like it, therefore they hate it's hate speech. That's stupid. And then he gets called a racist by one of the people in the crowd. No less, and I find this amusing and ironic because it's the SJW crowd, a white dude, it looks like. I mean, they got all their faces and stuff covered and he had a bandana on, but it looks like a white dude with a freaking head tattoo calls him a racist. And not to be stereotypical, but the dude kind of reminded me of a skinhead. I'm white, so I got no problem with saying that. The racism that I saw in this video was coming from that dude, whether he was white or not. Now, I do not for an instant believe that all white people are racist, so that's not why I'm bringing that up. I'm bringing it up because I find it amusing and ironic, because these are the people that are saying every white person is racist, and they're the SJWs and trying to say we need to stop the racism and blah, blah, blah. But then he has the gall to call this dude a racist. Again, this guy wasn't even saying he agreed with Milo or anything he had to say. He was just there to champion free speech. And then he gets called a racist and the people are sticking their middle fingers in his face and blocking him from the camera so he can't speak to the cameraman. It's saddening and it's sickening. And I hope this stuff ends soon, because all of it is just virtue signaling and crap, and people that do, and to be totally honest, some of these people that are saying, oh yeah, you guys are the privileged ones, and white privilege this and privilege that, and everybody else is a racist and stuff. Most of them actually are the ones that do have privilege. They come from rich families, etc., etc. That's not in all cases, but they're the ones that are privileged. And now they are trying to take away what little privilege, and that free speech is a privilege that is granted to us by the American government. I'm not saying this is like white privilege or anything. I'm using privilege in the correct sense here. Free speech is a privilege granted to us in the First Amendment of the Constitution. I believe free speech is one of those inalienable human rights. We should be free to say what we want, when we want, how we want, to who we want. And I hear it all the time, and I actually heard this from an ex-military guy. Well, free speech doesn't mean you don't have to pay the repercussions of what you say. And I'm like, that's exactly what free speech is. They have the right to walk away if they don't like it. The great thing about words, and this is where I find the left severely childish. As I remember when I was growing up, it was sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't know how many posts I've seen saying words are violence now. Words are acts of violence. No. Words can be hurtful. That's absolutely fine. The words can be hurtful because speech is how we communicate with each other. So if you don't hear something, or I should say, if you hear something you don't like, of course it can be hurtful. But you get over it and you move on. You don't start destroying property and throwing a tantrum like a freaking 3-year-old. But yeah, this has gone on for a while now. So this was my first video. I was actually intending for it to be a little bit shorter. But I'm planning on doing more. I want to do at least once of these a week. I may do more as events arise. But yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this because it's got to stop. It's got to stop on the right. It's got to stop on the left. We got to come together as people. So thanks for watching. I am Politigoat Jr. I'll see you next time.